Hey guys, it's Petro here. Today we're going to be winterizing this 2021 Honda Rebel 500 by adding fuel stabilizer to the gas tank and removing the battery and hooking it up to a battery tender. So before we begin, you want to make sure that the fuel tank has just a little bit of fuel missing. You don't want it to be completely full, since we have to have enough volume in there to be able to add the fuel stabilizer. So with that said, let's get started. So the first thing we're going to want to do is open up the fuel cap here, and we're going to measure out the amount of fuel stabilizer that it mentions on the bottle. So in this particular case, it's 15 mils for every 4.5 liters of fuel. The capacity on this fuel tank, as you can see in the manual, is 11.2 liters. So that's going to amount to roughly 37.3 mils. It doesn't have to be precise, so that amounts to roughly 1¼ ounces, which is what we're going to measure out using this handy little cup here, and then we'll just add it into the fuel tank. So with that said, let's get started. Alright, so we're all done with the fuel stabilizer, added it to the gas tank. So I'm just going to go ahead and put this away. Now that the fuel stabilizer is in the gas tank, close the fuel cap and turn on the bike. Let it run for about 5 to 10 minutes so that the fuel fully circulates throughout the bike system. Fuel up the fuel tank to full after you're done. Now that we've ran the engine and filled up the gas tank up to full, it's time to shut down the engine and remove the battery. Before we begin removing the battery, I just want to point out that the instructions for this are on page 67 of the manual, if you need it. It may help for following along. You'll also need a small flathead and small Phillips screwdriver. Also, make sure you're wearing gloves that are safe for electrical work. In order to remove the battery, you're going to need to remove the seat as the battery is under it. To do this, you can use the Allen key that's included with the bike under one of the plastic panels, or simply use a screwdriver. Use the screwdriver to take off the 2 bolts in the back behind the seat. Then pull off the seat. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove this data link connector over here, the red one. So this is what you're going to need the flathead screwdriver for. What you're going to do is there's a little tab right on the front. You're going to just pull that tab up using the screwdriver, and then you're going to take this whole thing and just push it forward in the direction of the tab, and that just comes right off. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to do this one over here, the air check connector. So this one is a little tougher because it moves in the opposite way, but it's the same mechanism. So the same tab, you're gonna have to just push that with a screwdriver. It's really hard to get a visual for this one because it's kind of on the other side. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm just actually going to wedge the screwdriver between the wires here, being very careful not to damage anything. And when I am in, what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna pull up a little bit, and I'm going to push this thing. Just like that. Here it is again. I'm just going to do it from a different angle, so to try to get a better picture for you guys. So again, insert the screwdriver between the wires here carefully, and just kind of use it like a lever almost. Push it up a little, and then push this one in to push it back. There we go. Alright, so the next thing in the instructions is to remove the connector holder and the relay holders from the battery cover. So we're going to go ahead, and these are just rubber over here, so they're not actually like wired in or anything. They're just being held on with these kind of rubber holders. So just pull up on them just like that. And same, the third one here is a little bit difficult to get to, so that one might require a little bit of kind of playing around with. Alright, there we go. This is the last relay. The next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to release this wire harness from this plastic guide over here. So just kind of get it out from underneath. Next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to remove the clips on this battery cover. So you might have a little bit better luck with getting these wires out of the way, but it's really not so bad even with them kind of a little bit in the way. The clips are these things over here. So to release them, what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to push down on it. So I'm going to just use my screwdriver to do that until it kind of clicks a little. And then there's a second one of these just underneath over here. So probably can't see it that well, but just there. So I'm just gonna, it's the same one. It's just again push down on it. All right, and after pushing down, what you can do is you can just kind of wedge the screwdriver underneath and just be really careful that it doesn't fall inside. They're actually pretty easy to take out, but yeah, you just wedge the screwdriver underneath and you pull it out. And now the same thing for this one over here. It's a little bit more difficult to get underneath there, but again, not too bad. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to remove the negative terminal, disconnect the negative terminal of the battery. So that's this one over here, the gray one. So you're just going to use a Phillips head screwdriver. You can use the same flathead as you did before if you really want. And you're just going to unscrew this. Remove the screw and put it somewhere for safekeeping. And now that this is disconnected, what we can do is we can actually remove the battery cover. So that's the plastic part. Now there's kind of a trick here. So the little metal thing over here, it actually wraps around and loops over a piece of plastic. So you actually don't want to just forcibly remove it because that little piece of plastic kind of holds it in place. So what I would do in this case is actually use the flathead screwdriver and just wedge this away. It'll make it easier to take this out after. There's two little plastic pieces here, so you just kind of wedge that out. And again, just keep this thing out of the plastic piece. There you go. And that's the plastic cover. And you can see here, this is the plastic piece. Mine's a little bit damaged actually because I was pulling this a little too hard. I didn't realize this was there. I thought this just kind of comes off. So don't make the same mistake. Just make sure you take that away. So we're almost done here. Now we just need to do the positive terminal, which is over here. So there's a little rubber kind of cap on it. You can just move that out of the way. Again, make sure you're wearing gloves. And you'll see that underneath there's a screw, same as there was on the negative terminal. These wires get a little bit in the way. And that's it. once you've got that positive terminal disconnected, quite easy, just pull out the battery and there you go. So now that you've got the battery out, you're just going to want to make sure that there's no buildup on the terminals. If there is, you're going to want to clean that off, and there's instructions on how to do so in the manual. In my case, it's a brand new bike, so there's not really any buildup to be worried about. And what we're going to do next is we're just going to park the bike. We're not going to need it anymore. Make sure you don't lose any of those pieces that you took out. I've just put them in a box for safekeeping until the spring. And afterwards, we're going to hook up the battery tender. So let's go ahead. Alright guys, so we're in my basement. We're just going to hook up the battery tender. We're in the basement because the temperatures here don't reach freezing, which is bad for the battery anyway, so we want to get it out of there. We also don't want to rest the battery directly on concrete. We're just going to hook up the terminals here. We're going to do the positive terminal first and the negative terminal second, as per the instructions. So positive is red over here. Nice and connected. And negative. And the last step is simply to connect the battery tender to the outlet and make sure that it says to keep it a little bit further away if possible. There we go. The battery is now charging. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video on how to winterize a Honda Rebel. In the springtime you're going to want to follow the same steps in reverse, that is in terms of hooking up the battery again. In terms of fuel stabilizer, it'll just sort itself out. Just let it run through your system. There's nothing that you need to do there. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. Comment if I did anything wrong or if there's any additional steps that you do for winterizing your bike. Would love to hear it. And until next time, please like and subscribe. Hopefully I'll come out with more videos in between now and springtime. Safe riding!